US dollar, USD Tether, Bitfinex, if it does implode and ultimately collapse, do you think it would create a power vacuum for something to replace it, like another shitcoin, like another stable coin? How would it actually affect Bitcoin and altcoins in terms of their dominance in the space?
I think that shit's gonna get very ugly, and I think it's gonna get very ugly because like nobody wants to embrace the reality of what this is, which is nuts to me. See, when this shit first blowing up in 2018, I thought we were gonna have enough momentum behind it to where people just sort of knew what it was and they were gonna adjust accordingly. But it never happened. It's like people doubled down. And I blame, I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I really blame Blockstream heavily for it because they have the most influential people that are in this community, like folks like Jesse Powell, Adam Back, who are telling people it's all good, it's straight, it's fun. Oh man, it's just a banking problem, and minimizing it to not allow people to comprehend how deep this shit is. So I honestly think it's gonna fuck everything up in a really bad way, like in a Mt. Gox type of way that might take a while for the space to get over. With that theory, I think it may be more than just a couple exchanges. It might be like perhaps 80 or 90% of the exchanges that we know. Yeah.
Do you think, kind of follow up to that? Because that's interesting because like I've got my own kind of theories on this as well. And do you think exchanges could even handle Tether imploding on itself if it happens? Can like exchanges even cope with it? And could exchanges protect users if that even happens?
So I think the issue is more so than Tether. What I kind of look at this situation as, so we saw the New York OAG, they came out with some stuff at the end of April. There was a little bit of, chaos, some panic going on with Bitfinex. We saw they had a premium, and then we saw that federal indictment that came down on Richard Fowler and Ravi Yosef. Those were the people who were like running the company that was over top of Crypto Capital Co. And that was where Bitfinex was banking. And since then, I've noticed that the way this space has moved has been really weird. And I've been going through the blockchain and just really trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And I genuinely think that these exchanges are attached in terms of their funds, their cold wallets, and their general solvency. And when I say that they're attached, like the list of exchanges I think is attached, this is going to sound crazy, but I'll read off this list. But I think it's Bitstamp, Kraken, BTCE, they're defunct now, Bitfinex, Inks, HIP BTC, Loyalbit, Taurus Exchange, Bitso, CoinTrader, of course, those are extinct, Gatecoin, Quadriga, Independent Reserve, perhaps Coinbase, BTC Trade, BTC Markets, OKCoin, BTC China, CEX.io, Bitmarket, Clevercoin, CoinMate, Cripsy, Mercado, Bitcoin, Huobi, let's see, Poloniex, of course. I don't know if I named Kraken already.
Yeah, you said Kraken, yeah.
Yeah, so all of those, and Binance as well, I think all of those are at a serious risk of default because they're not operating, I think, in the way that we think they're operating. I think we all have the assumption that Binance's cold wallet all belongs to like Changpeng Zhao, CZ. Now he can move it freely back and forth, and that Bitfinex's cold wallet is the same as well. I don't think that's the case. I think there is an entity, not on some Illuminati shit, but I think that these funds are tied together and that these exchanges are loaning funds to one another, and that the operators that we're seeing, the Brian Armstrong, the Jesse Powells, Phil Potters, and Jean Carlos, I don't think those dudes are able to autonomously move funds back and forth, truthfully. So I think when Tether implodes, it won't be Tether that kills them. I think it'll be the fallout from Bitfinex going under and that hole that it will create in terms of all those funds that'll be lost, because either they'll have the funds seized or they're just going to say, fuck it, try to run away to an island and we never see them again. And I think that will cause a general insolvency because the network that they're a part of can't sustain itself without those funds. So either the other actors that are involved in this equation will probably just run out, or maybe they'll also be locked up, have their shit shut down, or whatever happens. And I think Binance, is the perfect case. The craziest thing that I saw at Binance, and I didn't get a chance to get this to people, but I saw Changpeng Zhao, right? This morning, he replied to somebody because they said something like, they showed him data from token analysts, right? And it showed there's a little bit of an outflow of Bitcoins. And they said, what's going on, Binance? It looks like, at least some people are getting withdrawals. So then that's when CZ, he replied to him and he was like, I don't know what that thing is showing, but we're not sending anything out to anybody. If you've seen something, show me a transaction ID or something like that, right? So I'm like, hell no, I know for a fact they've been sending things out. So, I go through the cluster, I start looking through some transactions, and I see one wallet, like an outgoing transaction from the exchange. So I show it to him, he kind of he gives me a weak ass reply. He doesn't respond anymore. I already know what that's about. But I go back and I really examine it because I'm like, yo, what the fuck's going on? So I see there's this wallet, right? It sends 140 Bitcoins straight to the hot wallet at Binance. So this was like a deposit address. But if we remember, deposits and withdrawals have been shut down. So this has to be Binance, unless they have some special exemption for only certain people. So I see it has 140 Bitcoins in total. 100 Bitcoins goes to the Binance hot wallet, and then 40 Bitcoins some randomly created wallet, right? Now that randomly created wallet, it then sends 5 Bitcoins off somewhere that's not part of Binance's exchange, and then it sends the remaining 35 to their hot wallet. And I think this is mad weird because normally, if you're a customer and you send some funds, let's say you send 2 Bitcoins to Binance, they just sweep that shit right into their hot wallet, the whole thing. But in this situation, they separated a few of them side, which one, I thought that was weird. And then 2, the fact that nobody can deposit to the exchange, yet there's this wallet that I'm seeing is just been kind of consistently sending 100 Bitcoins at a time was mad weird. But every time I track it back, it always comes from another exchange. And that's strongly led me to believe that one, there can't be safe view funds. I don't care what people said. And I even put out something earlier today, somebody show me the wallet and I'll give him a couple hundred, but there's no way he has that. There's some sort of network or system in place where other exchanges are working with each other, like Coinbase, Bithumb, Bitfinex, Binance, a couple of the Korean ones too that I didn't mention, and some Japanese ones as well, are sort of sharing funds and liquidity with one another. And when one collapses, it's going to take out a lot of really big parties in this.
If they if the house of cards falls apart, who would then take over? Would it be institutional platforms, I don't know, for example, Fidelity or something, what they're doing? Would they kind of then step in and be kind of the heroes and authority, as the saying is, chaos brings order, kind of thing?
That's a good question. I think it all depends on how the governments go about it, because it's going to be mad money that's going to be lost. And part of me thinks the governments, other entities are going to see the carnage that comes from it, the hundreds of millions of dollars that'll probably be lost, maybe the fraud it ran off with or seized. And I really think they're going to look at it and be like, nah, we had enough of this shit. We need to crack the whip. Listen, we let you get off on the libertarian tip for a little while. We kind of let you do your thing. It wasn't too big, but now it's gotten, and we got to step in for real, because we know if we don't, then that same vacuum gets created where these bad actors come up again. I do think, though, it would be an insider that would fill that vacuum, because there's going to be certain people that I don't think are going to get touched like that. Like Barry Silbert, for instance, he's not going to get touched that way. I absolutely believe that he is a core actor. He's heavily involved, but people have been smart in this space in the way that they don't invest. So they've been kind of using venture capital firms as their way of operating and facilitating scam schemes and Ponzi's by proxy. So, specifically Digital Currency Group, Pantera Capital, Blockchain Capital, Boost VC, a few others that I genuinely believe are bad actors. I think they'll be able to kind of ride into the sunset. And honestly, they will probably attempt to rebuild. And when we look at this space and when this type of stuff has happened before, they're always the ones that do rebuild. Like when Mt. Gox went down, we saw Barry Silver come out and drill a bunch of money into this space, and that's how we got Kraken to get set up the way it is. That's what helped boost Coinbase up. His ties in with Bitfinex is what helped boost them up. So I genuinely think the rich insiders that are in this space are going to be the ones that fill that vacuum and then try to get it back up. And it looks to me that people who are running the exchanges are always going to be the fall guys. So someone like CZ, he's in the crosshairs, Jesse Powell's in the crosshairs, and definitely whoever's running Bitfinex is absolutely in the crosshairs. And
is there any exchanges that can be trusted? Like, say if someone's watching this, who could they trust?
Yeah, nobody.
I don't trust them. Yeah,
it's just too. It's too much. I really think at this point it's almost getting to a human, because this space just swallows too much shit. That's the problem. If we were more critical and we held people's feet to the fire, I would say there probably are a couple entities where maybe they could be trusted. But even with Binance, when the whole hack thing happened, I think it should have been scrutinized. There were some people, they got on my ass because I said it first. I didn't think that the outputs from their hot wallet would be spendable. Okay, cool, I'm wrong. But at the same time, nothing this dude is saying makes any level of sense. Like with the APIs being compromised, and then him saying also that the two-factor authentication was compromised too. I'm not understanding how that happens, and with the value of accounts that happens with, because they withdrew 7,000, and that kind of leads me to believe, since that was the limit in that hot wallet, that if these people were able to take more, then they would have. So if what he is saying is true, then they've been compromised on a very deep level. But even more so, they don't use like SIM authentications for the two-factor, right? So it's not like a text message is sent or you get a call. Like it's the actual like Google authenticator. So the only way I could see something like that happening is like with a phishing attack or like a man in the middle. But you don't ever see something like that generate like 40 million. I mean, we saw the Mu wallet for Ethereum. There were a couple man in the middle attacks for them back in 2018. It's like, okay, they got a couple million, but that's not the type of exploit or social engineering that's going to lead you to take out $40 fucking million. I mean, that's, but hey, we haven't seen any of the document. It's just the lack of transparency and the fact that this space just tacitly accepts it, I think, is created a culture where essentially asking which exchange we can trust is almost like saying, is there somebody in this world that you could trust with tens of millions of dollars that won't do anything wrong with it, even though they probably could and get away with it? And I'm always going to bet no with that one.